This is a stretch of water 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. On a normal day, about a fifth of the world's oil passes through it. On March 2nd, 2026, it closed. And what happened next taught the world something uncomfortable: that the oil price is a terrible way to measure damage.
This is Dollars Decoded, where we don't stop at what a price did, we go looking for what it hid. And this one hit a number that nobody quotes on the news.
The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman. Every barrel of crude leaving Saudi Arabia's eastern fields, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE has to pass through it. For most of it, there is no alternative route. Roughly 13 million barrels of crude a day, plus another 5 million barrels of refined products. Qatar's liquefied natural gas, around a fifth of the world's LNG trade, has no other way out at all. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel struck Iran. 2 days later, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps declared the strait closed and warned that any vessel attempting to pass could be attacked. Within days, traffic through the world's most important choke point had fallen more than 90%. Maersk, MSC, CMA CGM, and Hapag-Lloyd suspended transits. The International Energy Agency would later call it the largest supply disruption in the history of the oil market.
The price did exactly what you'd expect. Brent crude was trading at $71 a barrel the day before the strikes. By the end of March, it had risen 65%, the largest monthly increase ever recorded. Dated Brent, the physical benchmark, passed $140, a level not seen since 2008. On April 30th, Brent futures briefly touched $126, a 4-year high. In Los Angeles, petrol stations were listing $8 a gallon. And then, slowly, it came back down. A ceasefire in April, talks. By late June, Brent was trading around $72, almost exactly where it started. If you were watching the price, the crisis was over.
It wasn't, because the price of oil measures one thing: whether barrels are reaching buyers. It says nothing about what it now costs to move them. Start with insurance. Before the crisis, war risk cover for a tanker crossing Hormuz cost about 1/8 of 1% of the ship's value. At the peak, underwriters were quoting between 2.5% and 5%, roughly $5 million for a single passage of a single supertanker. Months later, it had fallen back only to around 1%, still 8 times what it was. Then routing. Ships that stopped using the strait went around Africa instead, the Cape of Good Hope. An extra 3,800 nautical miles and 10 to 14 days every voyage. Supertanker charter rates went from roughly $37,000 a day to $177,000. None of that shows up in the oil price. All of it shows up in the price of everything the oil becomes.
Which brings us to today. The ceasefire didn't hold. On July 8th, it was declared over and strikes resumed. As of this week, the United States has carried out its 13th consecutive day of operations against Iran. Houthi forces have attacked 2 Saudi tankers in the Red Sea, the alternative route, and Brent is back near $98, up 12% in a single week. Shipping analysts now estimate traffic through Hormuz may not return to normal for 12 months or more. Here's the part worth remembering long after this particular crisis ends. A choke point doesn't have to stay closed to do lasting damage. It only has to prove that it can close. Once ship owners, insurers, and refiners have priced that in, the cost stays in the system, quietly, in premiums and routes and contracts, long after the headline number has gone back to normal. The oil price recovered twice. The shipping never did.
Money always leaves a trail, even when the headline number goes quiet. We follow those trails every week. Subscribe to Dollars Decoded, and we'll see you at the next number that doesn't add up.